What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back, and from thecity.nyc, more than $200 million in city-purchased COVID gear auctioned off for just $500,000. So more than $200 million they sold for less than $500,000. Thousands of ventilators de Blasio commissioned for $12 million sell as scrap metal for less than $25,000. And the ventilators, if we recall, Governor Cuomo at the time was screaming at a press conference, "You're going to tell the people that we don't have enough ventilators, blah, 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 hospital ship." It was all absolutely insane. This also reminds me of another recent story in California where, of course, the man gets 4.5 years for some PPP loan scam that he was doing. And it's just like, they're going to scam you. They're going to rip you off. They're going to manipulate you and tell you lies. And you're just expected to wear it. Taxpayers funded all this. You wear it, okay? But if you do one little thing, if you throw it back in their face, even at a fraction of a percentage, you're going to jail. It's absolutely insane. Over the last few weeks, 18-wheelers pulled up again and again to the city of New York's huge supply warehouse in Queens to pick up dozens of unopened cartons containing what during the depths of the pandemic City Hall proclaimed would be life-saving miracle devices known as bridge vents. It was all a scam from the very beginning, and this is why I remember the testing site in Flatbush, Brooklyn. If you're familiar with my content, scroll all the way down to the beginning of my Instagram, basically, and there was a point where an empty testing facility was littered with brand new traffic cones. And I know it doesn't seem like much, but there's obviously some sort of scam, some sort of overpayment. I don't know, receipts. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but it just didn't make sense. We also hear that Cuomo paid like twice the price for masks or something. So something was happening. Governor Newsom in California made some backdoor deal with China for masks. I mean, it's through the roof what they do. And if you even question it, we're not even talking about scamming back, but if you question it, if you go out and protest, then you are the extremist. And if you're like me, you're going to get arrested and thrown in the precinct for a couple hours for protesting a lockdown. And that was before, at that very same park, George Floyd protesters camped out for 3 weeks. But I digress. That story triggers me to no end. The story continues. City Hall, bridge vents. As the COVID-19 pandemic overtook New York City in April 2020, and I remember it well, I remember it all being complete nonsense, but I was the outsider for just being like, wait, hold on, guys. Let's pump the brakes here a little bit. There were restaurants that I used to go to regularly that wouldn't let me in without a mask at a certain point. I'm like, bro, I come here 3 times a week. You know me. Just give me. Anyhow, then Mayor Bill de Blasio, who, again, I never thought I'd say this, but Eric Adams is almost worse. Just like Kathy Hochul is definitely worse than Andrew Cuomo. De Blasio commissioned 3,000 of the breathing devices as backups for the ventilators that kept sick patients alive. None of that was real. None of that was real. It was maybe happening in a nursing home, which, of course, was Andrew Cuomo's doing. But even that seems a little sinister now. When you look back at it now, it's like, there's no way. I mean, with everything that we know, Fauci, Birx, Walensky, all of these people, the arbitrary social distancing, all of that stuff, everything we know now, you look back and you're like, I mean, I knew. Look, not to toot my own horn, not to pat myself on the back, but it was crystal clear from day one that this wasn't exactly what they were selling. It was something, but they weren't telling you the full truth, or maybe they were telling you too much. I don't know, but it didn't add up, right? De Blasio commissioned 3,000 of the breathing devices as backups for ventilators that kept sick patients alive, helping fund their manufacture, even though they had never been tested. It was all ridiculous. And I can assume, I don't know much about this publication. I guess it's a nonprofit, but I can assume they're not going to be, crazy right-wing nut job conspiracy theorists. It's just the time has gone, like enough time has gone by to the point where they can kind of start telling you the truth. And we saw something very similar with that Time magazine article about the cabal that saved the election. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting triggered here. This is a story about doing the impossible, de Blasio said at the time. We never made a ventilator before, and so we made thousands. We learned it would take a year. We did it in a month. Our city is taking our future into its own hands. That's how we'll beat this crisis and prepare for the next. So they were already setting up the next one. And Cuomo did that too, right? He set it up to where he started talking about the Spanish flu of 1918, and it comes in waves. This was in April of 2020. Cuomo was talking about it comes in waves. It's going to come in waves, setting it up to do whatever he wants. Now, of course, he later was forced to step down because of the grab ass thing, even though I don't really believe that's why he stepped down. I believe he stepped down because he didn't quite go as hard as the establishment wanted him to on the pharmaceuticals, but maybe we'll save that for a different video. There's a clip of him saying, if you got it, then you don't have to worry about people who didn't get it. And that wasn't good enough because at the time they were saying, everybody has to get it. There's no choice. You can't go to a restaurant. You can't go to the movies. You can't go to a park. You can't go anywhere if you don't do it. So for Cuomo to say, if you got it, it works, and don't worry about somebody who didn't get it, that wasn't enough. That's why I believe they took him down and they masked it with the intern grab ass kissy face thing, but that's just my own tinfoil hat conspiracy. Moving on. Taxpayers paid $12 million for the devices the Economic Development Corporation awarded Spiro Wave LLC, the group that built the devices. Wow. Okay, so taxpayers paid $12 million for the devices. The City Economic Development Corporation awarded Spiro Wave LLC, the group that builds the devices, $100,000 in, quote, seed money and secured the rights to buy 70% of whatever was produced going forward. Wow. This is insane. Well, it's not insane. It's totally predictable, but it's just like they slap you in the face. It's just so insulting. De Blasio's pandemic medical miracle has turned into a bargain basement giveaway under current mayor Eric Adams. The bridge vents unloaded, unused in an auction that ended January 24th, described in sale records as non-functioning medical equipment sold as scrap metal. A junk dealer from Long Island picked up the entire $12 million 500,000-pound kit and caboodle for only $24,600. It took the dealer 28 truckloads to cart the stuff away, auction records state. A junk dealer on Long Island bought the stuff that taxpayers paid for. This is crazy. That's just over $8 per device, way less than a penny back for every taxpayer dollar spent. Less than a penny. Less than a penny. An investigation by the city, which I believe is this publication, has determined that since last summer, the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, another weirdo bureaucracy, has systematically tried to auction off millions of dollars worth of Rona-related personal protective equipment. So not only the vents, but now PPE. This is through the roof. Medical gowns, face shields, hand sanitizers, KN95, N95s that the department decided are no longer needed. Many of these supplies remain in their original packaging and are brand new. They never even used it. This is insane. I mean, they brought a hospital ship to the East River or the Hudson River or whatever it was. Didn't use it. This was all over the top. I mean, thinking about what they put people through, thinking about the lives they ruined, the schooling, the businesses, all for nothing, and they sell this stuff that wasn't even used for less than a penny on the dollar, and we're the ones, right? If you didn't want to wear the mask, if you didn't want to get the shot, you were the menace to society. These people are absolute thugs. The city was able to connect specific auctions to 20 COVID-related medical supply contracts and confirmed the sales with a source familiar with the agency's auction efforts who spoke to the city on the condition of anonymity. About 9.5 million items purchased by the city government from 224 million in COVID-related contracts at the pandemic's 2020 peak have been auctioned so far, garnering about $500,000. 5 cents per item that comes to. Many other COVID items have remained unsold after going up for auction with no bidders. So there's a bunch of stuff that they couldn't even sell for less than pennies on the dollar. This is crazy. Stale stockpile. DCAS officials appeared to be aware that the situation didn't look good, especially as COVID cases again rose. Okay, whatever. Does that really matter? This tells you that no matter how much propaganda you push on people, no matter how much you force them to do something, they didn't want to do it. And they kept going with this and basically stole a whole bunch of money, stole a whole bunch of tax. They can't even pick up the trash in New York. They can't keep people from getting pushed onto the subway. They can't get rid of the rats. They can't stop the crime. They can't stop the smash and grabs. They can't fix the roads. It costs you $20 to cross a bridge. And they're selling unused Rona equipment for less than pennies on the dollar. I'm speechless. This needs to wake somebody up. I don't understand how anybody can still be on this wave. Anybody can still be in the dark on this. But this is, and we've had layers, a litany of proof, from Project Veritas tapes to just regular old Newsweek articles saying, well, we were wrong about some of that. Of course, they weren't wrong. They were lying the entire time, and everybody knew. And they later came out and said that if something is so deadly and so contagious that they have to stick a Q-tip all the way up your nose until it touches your brain to see if you have it, none of that makes sense. I knew that from day one. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. It was all so obvious. But they were so adamant they were gonna beat you into submission, and it worked because, like I said, I saw for months from April to June, April to maybe even July, a completely empty testing facility in Flatbush, Brooklyn. But by December, people were lined up around the block to go get a test. People were fighting in the streets when the test truck came around. So it worked. The propaganda worked. I was long gone. The moment they said you have to wear a mask to get on a train, I knew it was over. And there you have it, pennies on the dollar. The city asked DCAS and Mayor Adams' office how much the taxpayers got back for all the goods. They actually have been able to got back for all the goods they actually have been able to sell at auction. DCAS and City Hall refused to say. So nothing. And even if they did, it's not going back to the taxpayers. This goes on and on and on. You don't have to read all this to realize that this is a complete scam. I would encourage you to. The link will definitely be in the description. I'm not going to read it all. It's so triggering. But the point here is they will scam you left and right forever and ever to get you to comply, to force you to do whatever it is they want you to do. And if you do it back to them, you're going to jail. But when they do it, you just got to wear it. This is absolutely one of the most despicable things I've seen in a long time. But thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.